תקל עליהם. טרוריסט. תקל עליהם. תומכי רוצחים. אגב, האוניות שלהם נמצאו קרחנה שלמה. הם לא באו באמת, לא למשט, לא לעזור, אלא הם באו בעד עזה, בעד הטרוריסטים. אלה טרוריסטים. הם תומכי טרור.
מה זה פה?
הספינה שלהם, המפכ"ל בדיוק מראה לי את זה יחד עם מפקד מחוז דרום. מחפשים כאן סיוע הומניטרי. יש כאן מטרנה אחד.
מה זה? זה סיוע הומניטרי? אני לא רואה פה שום דבר.
יש כאן מטרנה אחד.
So that was just a great edited compilation. I don't know why there was such a lag in there. I apologize about the lag, people, but that was an edited compilation of Ben-Gvir just being a total jerk and pretending that they have the narrative is what I get out of this. That they think that people still believe them, that a whole, I mean, the flotilla is growing and growing. There's more coming. I think 45 boats is from Turkey then as well too, right? It's nonstop.
Yep. More and more are coming, and I think people are very inspired by what is happening. The one concrete thing I saw that the flotilla did for the people of Gaza was that it so distracted the Israeli Navy that Gazans were able to fish for the first time in a long
I did
time.
see that. Yeah.
And that's great. As people point out, Israel doesn't have a big Navy. If more and more boats come, if you had 100 coming at one time, it'd be hard for them to stop them all. In fact, one of the boats of this flotilla, which had about 50 boats, did get through to Gaza. So,
that's good.
It's a worthy effort. As my friend Lamise Deek, who's a Palestinian American, and she tweeted on Twitter, she said, look, if this fed one Gazan, if this gave hope to one Gazan, it was worth it. And I believe that, I think this is the best of humanity.
Yeah. And you can't really twist the terrorist narrative when it's people that literally are not even armed. There's veterans, there's activists. I mean, the media was focusing a lot on Greta Thunberg as well too, but Nelson Mandela's grandson is there. I think Greta Thunberg was just released and deported. I saw a post about that. I didn't get a chance to confirm it, but there's a lot of people, and I was in a group chat that with R&R basically helping out with posting and for the flotilla, and they have so much support behind them, and I don't see Israel recovering from this, especially with having such a small navy that you added as well too. That's a very big part, because that means that they can't fully control like they want to. There's still going to be a lot of flotillas coming, and they're not going to get them all.
Right. And what it shows too is really the cowardice of really nearly every government in the world. That governments could be sending naval ships in with food.
Right.
And they wouldn't be stopped, right? If any European country did that, they wouldn't be stopped. it's disappointing. In fact, you saw that was Spain, Italy, and Greece. Was it Greece? No, or
Yes.
Turkey accompanied the flotilla, but only to a certain point,
Right.
and then they went back. Which is just pathetic, really.
Yeah, and then
But
I wrote an article
yeah,
about I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to
yeah,
cut you
no,
off.
but these civilians, these regular people, are showing the world what being a decent human being is all about, and that's
Right.
beautiful. That's what activism's about, really, at its core. So,
Yeah, yeah. And Italy is in the news a little bit. A lot of attention. I wrote an article about um what's her name? Georgia Maloney and all the fascist stuff that she does and how she was trying to force them to go a different route instead of trying to get to the shores of Gaza and actually asking them to give up their aid as well too. And thank God no one in the flotilla agreed to that. But she's also under pressure because over 1 million union workers in Italy are on strike right now, and they just recalled a new strike. So they're not giving up, and this is connected with the genocide in Gaza too. For people listening, why they are striking? They're striking because they don't like their government's complicity in this genocide, and she is definitely complicit.
yeah, no, again, the workers of Italy, of Greece also are really showing the power of unions to deal with these bigger social issues, which, American unions, as of late, have not been good at doing that, I think. Though there is some history to it, particularly amongst the West Coast longshoremen, right, which was communist led for a long time by a guy named Harry Bridges.
Right.
Um, but a new path, a new world is possible, and that's being shown. And I, the people like Nelson Mandela and Fidel Castro would famously say that the liberation of all of humankind is wrapped up in the liberation of the Palestinian people, and I believe
Right.
that not just as a nice saying, but
Right.
you're seeing this now. You're seeing that the West is waking up
Yes.
because of the
Yes.
Palestinian struggle, not only to the plight of the Palestinians, but their own plight. They also see that their own governments, they see through them now, that they're not really democratic. They really don't
Yes.
support freedom or human rights.
Yes.
So this is the struggle, I believe, right now. This is the struggle of humankind. Pretty much everything I do these days has something to do with Palestine. So um, it's a worthy struggle, and also, obviously, because the people of Gaza don't have a lot of time. I mean, the famine is growing, disease is spreading. Um, I saw something today saying there's some indications that Israel's preparing for one of its biggest massacres ever there. I mean,
Oh
I,
no.
I think I think that we all have a duty to do something
Right.
to stop this. So, and again, I think the people in the flotilla are certainly on the vanguard of the movement at this point.
Yeah. And I find it so incredible how they just keep coming and coming. I did not know that it was at first I saw 40 ships from reporting, and then it's just nonstop at this point. And there's probably people doing flotillas right now. Like what you're saying about the West is absolutely true. And I wonder how deep is the hypocrisy level is showing, because we need more allies against US imperialism. Because if you could see this, you should be able to start connecting the dots with US imperialism. Would you say so? Or do people need more understanding of what US imperialism really is?
Yeah, no, they shouldn't need more, of course. I mean, this really does, because when you look at it, you realize, oh, murdering and displacing indigenous people is as American as apple pie, right?
Literally.
Actually, more so, because I don't think apple pie really is from the U.S. But in any case, in fact, I just wrote an article. I was asked to write a piece about the ecocide happening in Gaza, along with the genocide. That is the ecological damage being inflicted by Israel intentionally on the people of Palestine, including, for example, the destruction of olive trees, which has been going on since 1967, since the Israelis occupied the West Bank and Gaza. Israel's destroyed over 1 million olive trees, and some of these olive trees, they can live for centuries and bear fruit for centuries. In fact, when I was in the West Bank in December 2023, and someone said, "Oh, that's a Roman olive tree." And I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" They said that was around during the Roman Empire.
Wow. Wow.
And to be destroying that sort of thing. But in this article I wrote, I compared it to the intentional destruction, murder of the bison in the American plains by the U.S. military, right? Literally
Yep.
millions of bison were killed, almost to the point of extinction. Now they're now coming back a bit. I think there's now something like, if I'm
Well, that's
not
good.
wrong, like maybe 500,000 bison, but at one point there were millions. And why did they kill the bison? Because the Native Americans ate bison, used them for clothing. They're part of the culture, very similar to the olives, right?
Right.
Olives
Right.
are a very key part of the Palestinian life, right? They eat the olives, they make them into hummus, they make them into olive oil. Almost everyone I know in Palestine has these fruit trees. They either have olive trees or orange trees or whatever. And again, to destroy them is really to destroy the very livelihood of the Palestinian people. But again, if you go back to how the West was won, as we say, very
Yep.
similar tactics were used.
Comanche
Same in
Wars.
Vietnam, of course, right? Where the U.S. used napalm, Agent Orange to destroy whole forests and agriculture. So this is colonialism, and this is what people have been saying for years, that Israel is a settler colonial project
Right.
of
Right.
white people, of European people, right? And a lot of
Unfortunately,
people.
guys.
What's that?
I was making a joke. Unfortunately, guys. I know some people don't like to hear that.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people say, no, it's about Jewishness, and it's about whiteness, because in
It
fact,
is.
we know that Ethiopian Jews have been treated very badly in Israel. They've been subject to forced sterilization, given the worst land. We know
Right.
that Arab Jews also are treated worse than the European Jews.
Yep.
It's about whiteness. It's about being European. And that's why Britain initially was the big backer of the project, and France, and now the U.S. is, right? The
Right.
U.S. and Germany, right? They're the two biggest backers
Yep.
of um, Israel. Yeah, and of course, as people say, Germany's never seen a genocide they didn't like, which
Right.
is true. I hate to say,
It's so
you
true.
hate to badmouth an entire nation, but I'm sorry,
Right.
like their track record's pretty bad. Um, and now, of course, you see again, Trump, who at least you have to give him credit for being many times at least honest about his intentions and his true desires. He wants to put Tony Blair in power as the viceroy of Gaza. I mean, this is
Yeah.
incredible stuff. I mean, this
Yeah.
is naked
It's a comedy.
colonialism. Yeah. Yeah,
Literally.
it would be funny if it weren't so tragic, but it is.
Right.
This is old timey colonialism,
Right. And
and it's
I
the
wanted to
last.
ask you.
Mhm.
Oh, I have a question after you finish your statement on that
Well,
part.
it's the last project of its kind in the world,
Right.
And as one historian said, 100 years ago, a lot of people would have, you know, been okay with this, but like in the 21st century, this ain't good. This ain't cool anymore. Like,
It's not cool
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. So, uh, and you're seeing people are responding. I mean, and that is a beautiful thing. In the U.S., people are responding, not quite as aggressively or in the big numbers that you're seeing in Europe. I mean, I am a little disappointed with that. I feel, and you
Yes,
can
I
tell
share
me,
that.
yeah, if you can tell me what your sense is. But where are you, by the way? What city are you in?
I am based in New Haven.
Okay,
So I do some coalition here and there with supporting the Yale students because I live like 2 blocks down. So when they do rallies, there's a rally tomorrow actually too.
that's great. I mean, it just seems to me like the protests have been good, but small. Even the big protests have been small
Yes,
compared to like the Iraq protest or the Vietnam
right,
protest, and they've gotten smaller, right? I mean,
right.
I think I was at I went to most of the big DC protests, and the last one, which I think was this summer sometime, it was small. I mean, and there hasn't been one since then. So that's been a little disappointing. I mean, there've been a lot of good people doing a lot of good things, but
Right.
it's not on the level of Italy, where they're literally going to burn the country to the ground if
Literally.
this thing doesn't stop, right?
Shouts out to
Uh,
Italy.
which is great.
Yeah.
So but I think certainly the um, consciousness of the American people has awakened. Even you see right wingers now who are starting to speak out against it. People like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, of course. When of course people are saying maybe Charlie Kirk was moving away from
Yeah, I
Israel as
saw a few
well, and
clips.
yeah, so these are positive things. I think the chance for a broad-based peace movement is very possible and very real right now. So,
Right.
and it needs to happen because we're about to go to war on multiple fronts, right? I mean, everything I'm seeing is that the U.S. will probably invade Venezuela, will probably attack
Yes.
Iran. Trump has backed off his talk about peace in Ukraine. He's even saying now Ukraine can take back the Crimea, which is crazy talk. So,
It's
we
not gonna
need,
happen.
yeah, it won't happen unless, again, unless the US and Europe decide
Right.
to start World War III.
Right. Right.
So it's a scary time, and it is a time that people need to come together, um, from all political formations to oppose this. And you see how stark the reality is that Trump has infinite amount of money for the military, for ICE, and nothing for social programs, right?
Right.
There's a government shutdown happening right now because the Republicans won't support these subsidies for health care. But again, there's infinite amount of money to support Israel in this genocide, to
Right.
make weapons, and the American people are tired of it. Even again,
Yeah.
many conservatives are tired of it and
Yeah.
don't view that as true conservatism. So, I mean, we need to organize around this.
Yeah. And the shutdown is 3 days right now. So that means that federal workers are working without pay, and people are being targeted with food stamps and everything. And the end game for people listening, he wants to get rid of all these programs. He
Yeah,
can't because he got to go through Congress. So he's
right.
trying to bully the government, Congress, into giving him what he wants. Like, this is
And
insane.
yeah, and he wants to use this as an excuse to fire more federal workers.
Right.
Which he's
12%.
already fired hundreds of thousands of them. These are
Right.
the best union jobs in the country. For
It's a
years,
direct attack on unions.
yeah,
Direct.
yeah, for years, the biggest union sector was the federal government employees, and he's destroying that as we speak. And what are the unions doing to oppose this? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're watching it happen. I mean,
Yeah. They're silent. Yeah.
I'd like him to protest about Gaza, but they won't even protest about their own jobs being lost. I mean, I've never seen the
Right.
union movement this quiet and passive. It
Right.
really is something. to me.
I'm a Teamster. My local union chapter is very quiet as well too right now. They're not putting anything out. No one wants to talk about it. It's just
This would be
just
be
what
the
it is.
time to organize workers around these types of issues and mobilize workers. And I don't know if it's that the union leaders are afraid. I mean, I'm sure they care. I mean, they have to care about their jobs being lost. If for no other reason, it means dues money's being lost. But what is motivating them not to act? I don't know.
Right. And when you get a leader that literally attacks a 1 to 2% of the population healthcare, the trans community, what logically, logically, why the hell isn't that being challenged more? The fact that there's manufactured consent enough for him to target trans people healthcare, and like that, he's not going to stop there. He's going to go after Black people healthcare. He's going to go after everyone's healthcare, make it privatized like Macron wants to do in France. That's the end game. Make everything privatized. Fascist
Well, he's
corporation
already
and
gone.
government.
Yeah, he's already gone after Medicaid and food stamps. He's gone off after Medicare to some extent, and yeah, the goal is to reverse all the programs of the Great
Yep.
Society and the New Deal. And also, the other thing that's not talked about much is that they've eviscerated the National Labor Relations Board. It's virtually non-functioning right now.
Oh, I missed that. Oh
Yeah,
no.
I believe there's only one member that's active out of. You're supposed to have 5 members of the NLRB. They're like judges. They're
Yeah.
like the judges of the NLRB, not Article 3 judges, but as we say in the law business. But there's 5 members. I believe there's only one active one now, which is not a quorum. So they're not making decisions. So you don't have an NLRB as a practical matter right now, which means union rights are not being enforced. And again, who's protesting that? Where are the unions protesting that?
Yeah, they should be the first ones to know and act on this
Yeah.
issue. I don't know. So how long do you think the government will be shut down for? Do you think he's going to succeed in this? Because I don't know exactly what's in his head at all.
I heard at least 3 business days, but I think we're already
Past
probably
that.
on the third.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could go a while, and then I saw that the courts, they only have funding through October 17th, I think. So something like that. So you could see the federal court shut down.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, when you think about the federal government infrastructure, it includes many, many things. And
Right.
even members of the military, they are now operating without pay. So I don't know how long this can go. Again, without some sort of revolt. Um, the problem is the Democrats are completely spineless as well. They don't stand for anything. I could see them caving. So I don't know, but it's a dark time. It definitely is a dark time, and Trump has done more bad in his short stint in office. What is it? About 9 months now.
Yeah.
Um, than I've ever seen. I have to say that he's much worse than even I feared. He's eviscerating the rule of law in this country. For one, what ICE is doing, where you have citizens being detained. I saw one guy. He's a U.S. citizen. I forget what he did, but he has a really good upstanding job, and he's been detained like 3 times.
Mhm.
So no one is immune from this.
This is
And this is being
ridiculous.
done, yeah, to terrorize the population, clearly. I mean, this is clearly they want to show they can do this. They can send the National Guard in to cities even though that seems to me clearly unconstitutional. Um, but and you saw Trump declared war on his own people, basically. At that meeting with the generals. So now you're going to have to be fighting, your own people in U.S. cities.
Yeah,
So
the hex up speech was absolutely insane.
yeah,
Um,
completely mad. And I guess the good news is it didn't seem to be well received by the military brass. Uh,
good.
you
That
could
was
see
ridiculous.
mutinies over this. So,
Right,
but again, there are pockets of resistance for sure and protests, but they're not on a large scale, on the scale they really need to be, I think.
right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that this country is right now just trying to. I think there's people in this country, and this is just how I feel. I'm not trying to say this about Americans being weak or anything, but I feel that there's a lot more sentiment in this country where people still think that things are going to be fine, things are going to work out, and they need more convincing that it's not. And what they do with that, I hope it brings more outrage and more pressure. But I'm fearful that we're not going to have that type of outrage for a long time, until probably what, the last year.
Yeah,
We should
well,
be now.
I mean, yeah, I think there's some of that. I think some people, as you say, do cling to a certain hope. I think others are like deer in the headlights. They just can't believe what's happening and are
Mm,
stunned into, kind of being frozen. A lot of people are so overwhelmed with the paying the bills that they can't pay that, it's hard for them to protest and risk
right,
losing their job.
right.
There's a lot of reasons why people are afraid, or don't, just can't get the wherewithal to protest. Um, and the truth is, the U.S. has not, since the 60s and 70s, hasn't had much of a protest kind of spirit. I mean, you certainly see protests, but even the protests we have, even during the Iraq War, for example, and the ones early on in the Palestine genocide, the big ones tend to happen on a Saturday, when no one's around, and they're safe. You don't see the type of protest again you're seeing in Italy,
Yeah,
where people are willing to shut down the country, shut down the ports, shut down the military-industrial complex. And that's what we need. That is the type
that's the type of, yep,
of fight we need.
yep,
Um, and again, the U.S. has had those things certainly in its history, but not on a real sustained level. Again, since the 30s, you saw that. The 60s, you saw that.
right, right.
Early
Vietnam was
70s.
very big.
Yeah, you haven't really seen it since then.
Yeah,
Um, and now all these anti-terrorism laws passed after 9/11 really go to the heart of those things. You now see that Trump is threatening Code Pink with RICO charges, the anti-racketeering charges that were designed to go after the mafia. He's asking the Justice Department to
those are
investigate
moms,
Code Pink because
moms, like
yeah, yeah, no, it's crazy. So
moms.
you also have that happening. Um, so, but I mean, the problem is also you don't have a communist party like you did in the 30s, in particular, that really was a leader in a lot of these movements.
Yep.
You now have a few parties here and there. They tend, they're pretty small. Um, they're doing some are doing good work, but again, they don't
Yeah.
have the penetration like that the Communist Party had in the unions, for example, and in other places where they had a real influence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big difference too. So all those things need to be rebuilt in this country, and honestly, it should have been done yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also there's a lot of, I don't know. There's a lot of things that divide us that shouldn't, that prevent us from coming together.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
I definitely see that. Like, because I'm too busy arguing with people about stances on Ukraine more than arguing with people that should be getting more informed of what's going on, but they're bothering me about the war over there when there's a huge war over here. And it's like we need to pay attention to this more because we're going to literally sweep whatever little freedoms that we have get swept right under our feet. And Donald Trump has proven that is exactly he wants to do,
yeah,
like cold-heartedly. That's what he wants.
no, that is what he wants to do. That he is doing it. It is happening, and unless there's resistance, he will keep doing it. He wants to see how far he can go. And that's happening throughout Europe too, where you're seeing
Yeah.
people arrested for having Palestine flags and stuff. I mean, these are things that
Uh,
would have happened before.
oh my God, the UK is just ridiculous. It's like every day I see a video.
Yeah, you saw George Galloway and his wife were, apprehended at the airport
Yeah.
for 4 or 5 hours, and their electronics were taken. That's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people here. I never, I've been an activist since I was 20. I'm now 57, and I used to get a little nervous going through customs, but I was never stopped for secondary
Mm,
interrogation
mm.
until 2022. Now I've been stopped maybe 5, 6 times, had my phone taken, my computer taken. Now it's almost routine. So, I mean, the things have really
Jesus.
changed in a big
Jesus.
way. Yeah, and I've seen that, and a lot of people are seeing that, and I have a lot of friends who've left the country, um, who just can't abide by it anymore. I mean, I really don't want to go that route. I do think the fight is here. I do believe that, but
Yes.
also,
Yes.
at some point, who knows? I could be forced into that as well. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and again, that's something I never saw. I never saw in my lifetime till now.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing I wanted to talk about. We talked about Venezuela, and I think Bad Bunny is a great conversation to bring people in to understand U.S. imperialism because the whole point of Puerto Rico being taken and stripped of their sovereignty was so the U.S. can have the perfect military base to launch their wars in Latin America. And for Bad Bunny to have such a large presence, being anti-colonial, being pro-LGBTQ, pro-Puerto Rico, um, I see people in the conversation saying, "Oh, why aren't they independent?" You know, and it's by design they can't be independent because the U.S. needs, just like Israel, they need a U.S. military base in the Middle East, Israel. They need a U.S. military base in the Caribbean, which is Puerto Rico, so they can launch their assault on Venezuela. Do you know you know Chris Graffa, one of my
Yes, yeah.
one of my socialist mentors.
Isn't
Um,
doesn't he do dissidents? Am I mistaken about
yes,
that? Yeah,
yes,
he's good.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
listen to
yeah.
that a lot. Yeah, he's good. He's
I've
funny too.
I've
It's a good show.
known Chris Graffa for about 10 years now so far. They were the ones that recruited me into the party for PSL. It
Oh,
was
I
them
didn't
and
know they were
their
PSL
partner.
guys. Okay,
Yeah, for
all right.
years. Yeah. But Chris Graffa feels that, you know, there's a pending, like any moment now, there will be a invasion of Venezuela. Um, and Chris Graffa also told me that they feel that there will that Venezuela will be overtaken swiftly. What are your thoughts on this situation? I know you mentioned earlier that it could be earlier in the interview. You said it could be any moment now.
I
going
think
after
there will be
Venezuela.
some sort of attack against Venezuela. I do not believe it could be overtaken very easily. You have, what is it, 4 million people who just signed up for voluntary militias to defend
Yeah.
Venezuela.
Do I have
That's a
B-roll on
lot.
that? Let me check.
That's
Yeah,
in
that is a
addition
lot.
to, yeah, to the standing military. We don't have that many soldiers. You would have to have, you know, you'd have to have a huge force to do that, to overthrow that kind of force. So I don't see, unless the U.S. decides to carpet bomb Venezuela, and I just don't think that's going to play. I don't think it's going to play in the U.S. I don't think it's going to play in the world. I just don't. You know, the U.S. hasn't really attacked a country like that since Panama in 1989, when it attacked Panama City and killed, well, it's unknown how many, maybe it's estimated between like 400 or 4,000, mostly working class people in Panama City,
Yeah.
Um, and even that didn't last long, because the idea of the U.S. like invading a Latin American country or Caribbean country was really, the optics of that is just now unacceptable. So I don't know. I mean, again, I could see them doing something. I could see them going in and bombing some targets like they do in Iran once in a while. But I don't see an expeditionary force
Yeah.
going in fighting hand to hand with
Yeah.
millions of Venezuelans. I don't see it.
And it's
I
not
think,
Trump's style neither, as well,
yeah,
too, when I think about it.
I think it would cause a regional uprising. I mean, really. I mean, I just think, again, you haven't seen anything like that in
Right.
decades.
Right.
So that's my feeling. I think there will be something, but I don't see it as some sort of sustained thing. They hope they can inspire. They want to do kind of a Bay of Pigs, hoping to overthrow the government. But of course, the Bay of Pigs ended very badly.
Yeah.
Uh, and Castro hadn't even consolidated the revolution by that point as much as the revolution in Venezuela has been consolidated, right?
Right.
And he quickly dispatched with the Bay of Pigs invasion. So I just, they may try something, but I don't see it working.
Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. I'm just so worried. Especially knowing people in Venezuela as well too, that are really great comrades to know. It's I don't want my country destabilizing them. Of course, like that's what we all don't want. But it's like with Trump, he's unpredictable. He wants to be as great as Reagan, and Reagan was willing to fund death squads. I mean, hell, he gave the Mujahideen, which is the current the Taliban. They changed their name. He gave them weapons to.
Yeah, actually, though, that was started under Jimmy Carter. We have to remember that in
Okay,
1979, June of
okay.
1979. Yeah, so
So Jimmy
Reagan did
Carter.
support the Mujahideen, but Carter started that, and it was the
Mm,
brainchild of his national security advisor Brzezinski.
okay.
Um, so yeah, but also that shows the seamlessness of U.S. foreign policy, right? When you had Carter, who's considered the nice guy, he started the war in Afghanistan. He
Right.
started funding the death squads in El Salvador. People forget that
Right.
Oscar Romero, who is now a saint, the Archbishop of San Salvador, he was killed under Carter, not under Reagan.
Yeah,
In
we
fact,
definitely forget that.
he had written to Jimmy Carter a month before he was killed, telling Carter to
Mm,
stop funding the military because it was killing his people. And he was killed in March of 1980. And again, people think in their minds, because Reagan was elected in 80,
right.
but he didn't. He
Right.
wasn't inaugurated till 81, right? So people
Right.
think that was Reagan. It was Carter.
Mm.
So you know, again, it shows how it doesn't matter who the president is. Um, the policies are the same in terms of foreign policy. Domestic can be a little different, but in terms of foreign policy, the two parties are indistinguishable, really. In fact, I just saw a story today that literally Anthony Blinken left the plans for Gaza in a drawer for Trump. And that
Are you
Trump is,
kidding me?
no, yeah, that is Trump is carrying them out. The plans that Biden had. So,
That little dirty snake.
he's a rotten human. I mean, that guy
Yeah.
Blinken was just terrible. So we all, we can't be naive about the system in which we live.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's so important to make sure that we remind people of this history, because a lot of people still think that all this is just new and the US was the shining star that everybody wants to come through. Even though we killed 1 million people in Vietnam, I still hear people say, oh, well,
That was
we
an
just want.
aberration, right?
Yeah.
But one aberration after another, that makes a pattern, right? It defines,
Right. It's like, how
it
much do
isn't
we need to show?
right. But no, we have cognitive dissonance, right? It's just like, yeah, we did that. That was bad, but we're basically good. Yeah, but when all you do is bad, when you're constantly a war,
Yes.
constantly murdering people, you
Right.
know, that's who you are. And that is who we are. And that is America. And that is, that's not to say there isn't hope. That isn't to say that there hasn't been progress, because there has been. But, you know, there is a unbroken pattern of war, war, war in this country. Jimmy Carter even pointed that out. He said, well, this country's been a war for, all but a few years of its history. But the problem with Carter is the few years he counted as not being at war were under him, and he really was at war, right? So I'm not sure there's ever been a time we haven't been at war. I mean, that's what's incredible. That is
Yeah.
what it's incredible.
So there's always an enemy, always,
Yeah.
24/7.
And
It's not
now,
us.
mhm,
It's not
yeah.
us. Never us.
So, and now, again, now Trump's being very open with the fact that the war's coming home, that it's going to be against our own people.
He
And
literally made the comment that we should have them practice warfare by invading cities,
yeah,
going into cities. So when he say things like this, I'm just like, what kind of reality are we living in right now? Like who just says that and just thinks that's very okay? Like, why would you clap? Like,
yeah. Well,
you're threatening
capitalism is
cities.
failing. Capitalism it's dying, and these are the desperate maneuvers of the ruling
Hmm.
class. Just to, I don't even know if save capitalism, but essentially guarantee that the few people that are richer than God continue to have their riches, and everyone else
Right.
is impoverished, and that's happening at a very, they don't feel they have to give us anything anymore. They don't feel they have to bargain with us anymore. They just feel they
Yeah.
can roll over us. And in many ways they've proven that they can do that a lot, because we're not well organized, and
Yeah.
we're not ideologically prepared for this like we have been, again, in the past.
Like the 60s, I think that was our
Yeah,
biggest
and
time.
the 30s with
Yeah.
the, again,
30s.
Communist Party, the
Yep.
19 teens with the Wobblies. You had periods where, there was more of an ideological, maturity, which I don't feel we have. I mean, it's there amongst some people, certainly, but
Hmm.
not amongst the broader population.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you a last thing about Syria. We mentioned the Mujahideen, and you're expert in Syria. You've been there multiple times. you also advocated for the Alawite community as well too. So now we see the head chopper himself in the UN
Yeah.
conducting meetings. Like, isn't it insane how they just like? What are your thoughts on that? Like, they did it out in the open. Everyone knows that this man had a $10 million bounty on him, like last year.
Yeah, he was head of Al Qaeda. He was head of ISIS. He came to New York City. He was walking the streets days after this commemoration of 9/11. It seems unthinkable. This is Orwell, right? This is we've always been friends with East Asia, right? This is incredible stuff. And the newspapers didn't care, the press didn't
Nothing,
care.
no coverage.
This guy who did, as you said, literally chop people's heads off when he was head of Al Qaeda, and whose own people, his military is still chopping people's heads off, though he personally is not, but his
Yeah,
people
yeah,
still are.
yeah.
He's being accepted with open arms in New York City. I don't know what to say. I and that there's virtually no criticism of it. No one's saying,
No,
it's
no
kind
one's
of
saying
weird.
anything.
Yeah. You have the head of Al Qaeda, now getting the red carpet treatment in New York City. This is how far this country's gone in terms of propaganda, in terms of the lack of historical knowledge. I mean, most people don't know this.
Right.
If they walked into him on the street, they wouldn't know who he was or where he came from. And by the way, we have a new book out called Syria: Anatomy of a Regime Change. I want to mention that because it goes over
Yes.
all this history. It's brand new.
I'm going to
It
make sure I
just
put
came
the link
out
in the description.
this Tuesday. Thank you. By the way, mention to Chris. Maybe he'll have me on. I'm trying to get out there and promote the book. But in
Definitely.
any case, yeah, I mean, that's why I write about these things. That's why you do what you do, because most people don't know it. They don't understand it. And if they did, I think people would be furious.
So furious because, like, here we have a man that was a part of the organization that was a part of the 9/11 attacks. And
Right.
they make that such a large, which it should be a big deal, but they politicize it very strongly for their Patriot Act, for their Islamic terrorism, um, for their Islamic terrorism rhetoric, and so many Muslim and Arabic, Middle Eastern Americans disappeared like during that era. And it's like, what was all this for if you are going to end up legitimizing someone that literally came from that cloth? Was
Yeah, well,
associated with it.
9/11, as many tragedies, was misused in that way. I always tell people to read this article. It's online, it's free, it's not behind a paywall. It's from the New Yorker magazine from Seymour Hersh in 2007 called The Redirection, in which he talks
Mm,
about that as of 2005, the Bush administration went from fighting Al Qaeda to working with Al Qaeda to overthrow governments in Syria, Libya, Iran. In 2007, Seymour Hersh was saying that, right?
wow.
And, because people say, oh, that's not true. And no, it is true. And again, you mentioned,
It's in your face.
why are we surprised? Because Osama bin Laden was with the Mujahideen that the U.S. backed, right? Like, this is
Recycle.
ancient stuff. It
Yeah.
goes back to the 20s when Great Britain was supporting the Muslim Brotherhood
Right.
in the Middle East. I mean, again, people need to know their history. History is important because it's not just that history repeats; it doesn't stop. It's just these things continue over and over.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely a dangerous time. And I wanted to quickly kind of just remember when we were talking about Palestine, Putin came out and said that he supports Trump's plan. But he also said he only supports it on the condition that it would lead to Palestine having a recognized state. But Trump's plan is putting a British guy in. to
Yeah,
control the
yeah,
country.
yeah. No, that's
So it's
very disappointing. And I've been
yeah,
saying for a while. I mean, I just think the left has to get realistic about Russia and China. Right? They're not
yes,
the Soviet Union.
hmm
China's foreign policy was almost never good. Okay,
hmm
even under Mao Zedong, right? They supported Pinochet. They
hmm
supported Pol Pot against Vietnam.
hmm
Um, and Russia, since the Soviet Union, they don't have the solidarity, the socialist solidarity they had. Then they have some good policies, but they're not the same, right? And
hmm
this is an example. Where are Russia and China now when it comes to the Gaza genocide? What have they done to stop it? Nothing.
yeah. Well,
And we
people
have
are
to be,
saying that it's not they're not their issue, but they
well, it
are
should, it's
still
all of our issues. Any
yeah.
party to the Genocide Convention, which they are,
hmm
they're obligated to stop this, right? The
Yes,
Soviet
that's what
Union
I
would have,
read. Yes,
yeah, yes, the Soviet Union would have done something. Cuba under Fidel Castro would have done something. You know,
yeah,
uh,
definitely Castro. Castro
yeah,
said take to South Africa.
yeah.
He
No,
said
he was
fucking takes.
incredible in terms of that. But also remember that Castro got help from the Soviet Union. So but those days are gone. I mean, I hope they can come back, but we have to be honest and just realistic about what Russia and China are, and they're not. They don't have that socialist internationalism that the
Mhm.
Soviet Union had, and I don't think we can fetishize what the BRICS is. Again, it's good. We need a counterweight. We need a
Yeah,
multipolar
exactly. Yes.
world.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
necessary, but not sufficient. And we just need to be realistic about that the cavalry ain't coming
Yeah.
if you think it's Russia and China.
Well,
Unfortunately,
yeah, I do give China a little bit more leniency, but with Russia, I am not convinced at all that they care. They have their own interests, and that's it. And Putin is thinking about the 2 million Israelis in Israel more than he's thinking about Palestine. To me, he's thinking about keeping that relationship strong
yeah,
more than he's thinking about Palestine.
and also getting back in the good graces of the West. I think ultimately
Exactly.
that's what he's gearing up for.
He wants his
China
Western.
also wants good relations with the West. China,
Yes,
is a
they do.
bigger trading partner with Israel than any other country. And again,
Yeah,
they
they are.
so again, it's just we have to see the world as it is. We can't
Right.
pretend it's something it's not, and I think that is important. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Dan Kovalik, thank you so much for coming on. We had a good, nice sizes audience here. To make sure y'all share this so we can get more views, because last time we got a few hundred. Let's keep matching and get to 1,000 this time. Let's do it. Let's do it. I think we did get 1,000 off of a clip with you as well too.
that's
I think it
great.
was like 3,000 or something like that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. He's an author, lawyer, professor. Used to work for Pittsburgh University. And you have a new book out right now, actually. So make sure I get that so I can put in the details as well, too.
Please do. Yes, Syria: Anatomy of a Regime Change. It is on sale now.
Yep. Thank you everyone for tuning
Thank you.
in. And thank you so much for taking the time out, Dan. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. You're a good guy. Enjoy you. All right. Take care.
You too. Take care, bye.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah. We gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah. We gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We got.